It's good morning, Jade Timms. Welcome to Yellow Shelf for the first time.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Congratulations, your book, Golden. It's out now. Tell us all about the book. What do we need to know?
So it's a YA young adult contemporary called Golden, that I set in a beach town that is basically where I live, which is the far south coast of New South Wales. I found a lot of Australian YA was set in Melbourne, which I love Melbourne. But yeah, so I fictionalized where I lived. That's the setting. And it follows Eddie, who's 17. It's the summer between year 11 and year 12 for her, and she is decides to train for the mud run, which is an event, a charity event that happens at the end of summer, lots of mud. And but she used to sort of do that with her brother-in-law Jackson, who died in an accident 3 years previously. And so that's sort of the plot pushing it forward, but it is really sort of a story about a girl and her family who've been sort of fragmented by like a tragedy, and
Mm.
them trying to find their way back to themselves. And Eddie has very much sort of isolated herself off from the world, because she was present when her brother-in-law died.
And Jade, definitely a book about, like you said, young adult contemporary fiction, navigating life, grief, relationships, and just those adolescent years in general. There's a real sense of, yeah, that's what can be wonderful years, but what can also be a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. It's I tried to sort of walk the line between it being like a fun summer
Yeah.
book, with, first love and about sort of developing important friendships at that age, but also dealing with like the heavier topics of mental illness, of trauma, of like family relationships, and how they sometimes your parents don't know how to respond properly to a tragedy that's affected them as well. Like they're just people as well, and they're struggling to process this awful event, and how like not talking about the awful event that you all experience kind of breaks you apart in a way that is really painful for Eddie. She doesn't sort of have the words or the capacity to sort of explain how she's feeling to anyone.
Yeah, very relatable for some, isn't it? That feeling of not having the tools to navigate um, those circumstances. Jade, I'd love to hear a bit about you and what inspired you to write. Did I read correctly? This is debuted published novel, yet you're a seasoned writer.
Yeah, I've been writing books since forever.
Yeah.
I think I counted and I worked out that Golden was like the 17th like completed book that I'd written, which was in 2018. So I've added to that, and plus have multiple unfinished things that have been abandoned along the way. But yeah, so like I'm just always writing. If I'm not writing, I'm going mad. So I tend to not stop writing. But initially, Golden was inspired by, well, in 2018, when I wrote the first draft, I had just started therapy for the first time ever. And I had just started antidepressants for the first time ever. And I was processing stuff myself. But I sort of started it out to be like a fun summer book. And I really wanted to explore complicated sibling relationships. Eddie has a twin brother, Patrick, who at the start of Golden, she is really separated from, like they're not close at all, even though they used to be very close. And she also has an older sister, Vivian, who's 16 years older than her. So I really wanted to explore complicated sibling relationships. And during the first draft, I didn't realize really what the heart of the book was until it was finished. And then that was, it made me sort of realize that I was processing, when I was 12, someone died in tragic circumstances. And my parents, were very close to that person, and it was really hard for them to deal with it. And it just wasn't talked about. And
Yeah.
and so I hadn't realized at the time that I was writing it, but once it was sort of done, I looked back and thought, oh, I'm processing this thing that happened to me when I was 12 that no one talked about because everyone was in so much pain.
Yeah.
And then that became kind of the heart of Golden.
Almost cathartic or
Yeah.
therapy itself. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you go to therapy and you start processing things really that you just haven't had the sort of time and space to sort of look at.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that it started off, it was, yeah, so it's sort of the meshing of the two of the fun summer
Yeah.
beach vibes, but with, a slightly heavier topic of grief and trauma.
Yeah. And Jade, I'm hoping maybe one day you can reach back to those old books and you'll get them published. This will be the kickstart of that journey. If people are watching and they're curious to connect with you, to find out more and obviously get the book, I'll put some links in the show notes. But you have a great website. I follow you on Instagram. Where point us in the direction of where you'd like us to go if we're curious.
Yeah, I am on Instagram, is the main sort of social media that I use. So like I'm just by
Yeah.
default there, a lot. Um, and yeah, the website, I have a Substack as well, which is linked on
Um,
my website.
yeah.
It's only a new Substack, and I really did it more for myself. Like I wanted to sort of record all of the processes and steps of publishing Golden, just because like my memory doesn't hold up anymore, and I just
Yeah.
like black out. So it has been up until this point just an experience of like what had happened, like how I got Golden published, the
Yep.
process of working with my editor and all the behind the
Yeah.
scenes stuff. And then, now we're sort of a month out from Golden being published and probably ready to sort of start talking about something else. But
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully there'll be more books.
Yeah, awesome. Well, look, keep writing. That's all I can say. And anyone listening, go and get a copy of the book, embrace it, and go on the journey with Jade. Jade, I mean, everyone is familiar with Yellow Shelf. Our newsletter's on Substack as well, but I'll put the link in as well to make it easy. Jade, thank you for joining us. I somehow hope that you're coming back over the years in the future to share future books with us. But thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.